I don't feel happy anymore. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I stared at Claire, my wife of 10 years, sitting across from me on the couch. Her voice was calm, almost detached, but her eyes avoided mine. The room felt suffocating, the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen suddenly deafening. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice shaking. "Are you unhappy with me? With us?" She shrugged, picking at a loose thread on the armrest. "I don't know, Matt. It's not just you, it's everything. This life we've built feels suffocating. Like I'm stuck in this endless loop of monotony." Monotony? Was that really how she saw our life together? After all we'd been through. The late-night talks, the vacations we saved up for, the quiet comfort of knowing each other inside out. How could she reduce it to something so hollow? But before I could respond, her phone buzzed on the coffee table. She glanced at it quickly, then dropped it face down without saying a word. Something about the way she did it made my stomach churn. "Who was that?" I asked, nodding toward the phone. "No one," she said too quickly, standing up to clear the dishes. "No one," I repeated, my voice rising. "Then why are you acting like it's a secret?" "It's nothing, Matt," she snapped, turning back to face me. "Can we focus on what I'm trying to say here? I'm telling you I'm not happy." Her tone stung, but it wasn't just her words that bothered me. It was the look in her eyes. Guilt, fear, something she wasn't saying. Later that night, after she'd gone to bed, I picked up her phone. My hands trembled as I unlocked it, using the passcode I knew by heart. And there it was, a string of texts between her and someone named Ryan. "Tonight was amazing," one message read. "I can't stop thinking about you," another said. My vision blurred as I scrolled through the conversation. They weren't just flirty, they were intimate. Plans to meet again. Declarations of love. Betrayal burned in my chest like acid. Claire hadn't just confessed she wasn't happy. She'd already replaced me with someone else. By morning, I knew exactly what I had to do. The texts were like shards of glass, cutting deeper with every line I read. Ryan wasn't just some random guy. He was someone Claire had been seeing for months. Months. While I was at work, paying bills, keeping our life afloat, she was sneaking around behind my back. Couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her laughing with him, touching him, saying things to him she used to say to me. The betrayal wasn't just physical, it was emotional. She'd given him pieces of herself I thought belonged only to me. By morning, I felt hollow, like someone had scooped out everything inside me and left an empty shell. But beneath the numbness was anger, white-hot, searing anger. How could she do this? To me? To us? When Claire walked into the kitchen, yawning and tying her robe, I didn't even look at her. I slid her phone across the counter toward her. "Care to explain this?" She froze, her face going pale as she recognized what I held in my hand. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then, slowly, she sank into a chair, covering her face with her hands. "Matt," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I can explain." "Oh, please." I shot back, my tone sharp. "Explain what? That you've been sleeping with someone else? That you lied to me every single day while pretending we were fine?" "It's not like that," she cried, tears streaming down her face. "It wasn't planned. It just happened. Just happened." I repeated, incredulous. "You don't accidentally cheat on your husband, Claire. You don't accidentally fall into bed with another man." "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she pleaded. "At first, it was just talking. He made me feel alive again, Matt. Like I mattered." Her words hit me like a slap. Alive? Mattered? Didn't I do those things for her? Didn't I spend 10 years building a life with her, supporting her, loving her? So what am I? I demanded, my voice cracking. Just some placeholder until something better came along? "No," she shouted, shaking her head violently. "That's not what I meant. I love you, I still do, but I felt so lost, trapped. And Ryan, he made me feel like I wasn't stuck anymore." "Ryan," I spat, the name tasting bitter on my tongue. "Who is he, Claire?" Some coworker? A friend? Or just some stranger who swept you off your feet? He works at the gym, she admitted quietly. We met during one of my classes. It started as small talk, then coffee, then more. And you thought it was okay to bring him into our marriage? I asked bitterly. To destroy everything we built because you were bored? I wasn't bored, she protested. I was lonely, Matt. You're always working, always distracted. I needed someone who could be there for me. Her excuses felt like knives twisting in my chest. Lonely? Is that how she justified this? So instead of talking to me, you decided to cheat? I said, my voice rising. Instead of fixing whatever problems we had, you threw away 10 years of our lives? I'm sorry, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. I never wanted to hurt you. Well, congratulations, I spat. You succeeded. The confrontation spiraled from there, each word cutting deeper than the last. She begged for forgiveness, promising to end things with Ryan and work on our marriage. But her apologies felt hollow, meaningless. How could I trust her now? As the argument dragged on, I realized something painful. This wasn't just about Ryan. It was about us, the cracks in our relationship that had been there long before he entered the picture. Miscommunication, neglect, resentment. But no matter how much I wanted to believe we could fix it, the damage was done. Trust, once broken, isn't easily repaired. And I wasn't sure I could ever look at her the same way again. The days after the confrontation were a blur of anger, confusion, and heartbreak. I couldn't stay in the same house as Claire, not with the memories of her betrayal haunting every corner. So, I packed a bag and left, moving into a small apartment downtown. It wasn't much, but it was mine. A space free from reminders of what we'd lost. At first, I told myself it was temporary. A cooling-off period. Maybe, just maybe, we could salvage something from the wreckage of our marriage. But deep down, I knew better. Some wounds run too deep to heal, and some betrayals leave scars that never fade. Sleep eluded me those first few nights. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together. Their laughter, their touches, their whispered conversations. The image played on a loop in my mind, refusing to let me rest. During the day, I threw myself into work, using long hours at the office as a distraction. But even there, I couldn't escape the ache in my chest. Friends noticed the change in me. You look like hell, Mark said one evening when we met for drinks. What's going on? I hesitated, debating whether to tell him the truth. Finally, I confessed everything, the texts, the affair, Ryan. By the time I finished, I was gripping my glass so tightly my knuckles turned white. Damn, Mark muttered, shaking his head. What are you going to do? I don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to forgive her, to try and fix things. But another part feels like walking away is the only way to protect myself. Mark nodded thoughtfully. It's not an easy decision. Just make sure you're doing what's best for you, not what you think she wants or expects. His words stuck with me. For so long, I'd put Claire's needs ahead of my own, working late to provide for the family, sacrificing personal time to keep the household running smoothly. But where had that gotten me? Alone in a cramped apartment, nursing a broken heart. To cope, I started seeing a therapist. Talking about my feelings felt strange at first, but slowly, it helped me untangle the web of emotions I'd been drowning in. I realized that while Claire's actions were unforgivable, I also bore some responsibility for the state of our marriage. My constant absence, my failure to communicate openly, it had created a void she tried to fill with someone else. Still, understanding didn't mean excusing. No matter how lonely she claimed to feel, nothing justified bringing another man into our home. That betrayal cut deeper than anything else because it wasn't just about me. It was about us, our vows, our promises, everything we'd built together. As weeks turned into months, I began to rebuild pieces of myself. I joined a gym, started cooking again, reconnected with old friends. Small steps, but they made a difference. For the first time in years, I felt like I was rediscovering who I was outside of being a husband or provider. Claire tried reaching out occasionally, Texts, emails, even showing up unannounced at my apartment. "We need to talk," she'd say, her voice trembling. But I couldn't face her, not yet. Not until I figured out what I truly wanted. Did I still love her? Yes. Could I trust her again? Probably not. And without trust, what kind of future could we possibly have? By the time months had passed, I accepted the reality of our situation. Claire and I weren't the same people anymore. Too much had happened. Too many lines crossed. Whatever came next, I knew one thing for sure. I deserved better than living in the shadow of betrayal. Walking away from Claire was supposed to bring me peace, but instead, it left me with a burning need for justice. She had shattered our marriage, humiliated me, and acted like her apologies could erase the pain she caused. But I wasn't about to let her off that easily. If she thought leaving me would be the end of it, she was wrong. I started small, subtle things designed to make her question everything. The first step was reclaiming my independence. I bought new clothes, got a haircut, and hit the gym hard. Every time Claire saw me, I wanted her to notice the changes. I wanted her to see the man she'd thrown away. Then came the rumors. Through mutual friends, I let slip that I was seeing someone. It wasn't true. I didn't have a girlfriend, but I made sure the story spread quickly. Soon enough, Claire heard about it. One evening, she showed up at my apartment unannounced, her face flushed with anger. "Is it true?" she demanded, stepping inside before I could stop her. "Are you dating someone else already?" I smirked, leaning casually against the counter. "What if I am? You didn't exactly leave me much choice, did you?" "That's not fair," she cried, tears welling up in her eyes. "You know I still love you. I made a mistake. I've apologized 100 times. Apologies don't fix betrayal," I said coldly. "And besides, why should you care who I'm with now? You moved on first." She flinched at my words, guilt flashing across her face. "Please, Matt, don't do this. Don't punish me like this." "Oh, I'm not punishing you," I replied, my tone dripping with sarcasm. "This is just me moving on. Something you clearly did months ago." Her desperation fueled me. For years, I'd been the one bending over backward to keep her happy, to make our marriage work. Now, seeing her unravel because of me gave me a twisted sense of satisfaction. But I didn't stop there. I began attending social events we used to go to together, parties, dinners, even the occasional night out with friends. Each time, I made sure to flirt openly with other women, laughing loudly and drawing attention to myself. Claire always found out somehow, whether through gossip or witnessing it firsthand. At one gathering, she cornered me near the bar, her voice low but fierce. "Why are you doing this? Are you trying to humiliate me?" "No," I said, meeting her gaze evenly. "I'm just showing you what it feels like to lose something, or someone, you took for granted." Her jaw tightened, but she didn't argue. Instead, she stormed off, leaving me alone with my drink. Watching her walk away felt good, empowering even. For once, I held all the cards. The final piece of my plan involved Ryan. I tracked him down through Claire's phone records. A risky move, but worth it. I sent him an anonymous message. "Do you really think she loves you? Or are you just a rebound?" It didn't take long for the seed of doubt to grow. Claire later admitted they'd argued after he confronted her about their relationship. Apparently, he accused her of using him to escape her problems. By the time she realized I was behind it, the damage was done. Through it all, I told myself this wasn't about revenge. It was about balance, making her feel the same pain she'd inflicted on me. But deep down, I knew the truth. Part of me enjoyed watching her squirm. Matt's revenge was relentless, and it was working. With each passing day, I felt myself unraveling further. The man I once loved, the man who used to hold me close and laugh at my jokes, was gone, replaced by someone cold, calculating, and determined to make me pay for what I'd done. And honestly, I deserved it, but that didn't make it any easier to bear. It started with the rumors. Friends casually mentioned his new girlfriend, painting her as perfect in every way. Beautiful, smart, successful. At first, I tried to convince myself it wasn't true. Matt wouldn't move on so quickly. Would he? But then I saw him at a party, laughing with another woman, their bodies close, his hand resting lightly on her back. My stomach churned as jealousy surged through me. Who is she? I asked one of our mutual friends later that night, trying to sound casual. No idea, they shrugged. But he seems happy, doesn't he? Happy. The word stuck in my throat like bile. How could he be happy without me? Without us? Then came the arguments. Every time I confronted him, he shut me down with biting remarks or icy indifference. You don't get to act hurt, he said during one particularly heated exchange. Not after what you did. I know, I shouted, tears streaming down my face. I messed up, okay? I admit it. But can't we fix this? Can't we try again? He just stared at me, his expression unreadable. Fixing takes two people, Claire. And right now, I'm not sure I even recognize you anymore. His words cut deeper than anything else. Because he was right, I barely recognized myself these days. The guilt consumed me, gnawing at my insides until I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I replayed every moment of our marriage in my head, searching for where it all went wrong. Was it my fault? His? Both of ours? Desperation drove me to do things I never thought I'd do. I showed up at his apartment late at night, begging for forgiveness. I sent long, tearful texts apologizing over and over again. Once, I even tried seducing him, wearing the lingerie he used to love. But nothing worked. He looked at me like I was a stranger, a ghost haunting the edges of his life. Things got worse when Ryan pulled away. After receiving that anonymous message, he became distant, questioning whether I truly cared about him or if he was just a rebound. We argued constantly, his accusations mirroring my own fears. Eventually, he ended things, leaving me completely alone. The loneliness was suffocating. For months, I'd convinced myself that cheating on Matt was justified, that I needed excitement, freedom, something different. But now, stripped of everything familiar, I realized how empty those desires had been. Ryan hadn't made me happier. He'd only highlighted how broken I already was. One evening, sitting alone in the dark, I picked up my phone and scrolled through old photos of Matt and me. There we were, smiling at our wedding, laughing on vacation, cuddled up on the couch watching movies. Seeing those images brought fresh waves of regret crashing over me. What had I done? How could I have thrown away something so precious? I wanted to call him, to beg him one more time to take me back. But deep down, I knew it was too late. Even if he forgave me, and I doubted he ever would, the trust was gone. Our marriage was irreparably damaged, and it was all my fault. So instead of calling, I cried. For hours, I sat there, sobbing into my hands, wishing I could turn back time and undo everything. But no amount of tears could change the past. All I could do now was pick up the pieces of my shattered life and hope someday I might find a way to forgive myself. It all came to a head one rainy evening. A storm both outside and within us. Claire showed up at my apartment unannounced, drenched from the downpour, her mascara smudged under red-rimmed eyes. She looked broken, defeated, nothing like the confident woman who had once walked out of our marriage for someone else. "I need to talk to you," she said, her voice trembling as she stepped inside. I crossed my arms, leaning against the wall. "What now, Claire? Another apology? Another excuse?" "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "This isn't about excuses. It's about truth." "Truth?" I repeated, raising an eyebrow. "You mean like how you cheated on me with Ryan? Or how you lied to my face while planning your escape?" She flinched at my words but didn't back down. Instead, she sank onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. "I know I hurt you, Matt. I know I destroyed everything we had. But you don't understand why I did it." "Oh, enlighten me then," I snapped, pacing the room. "Why did you throw away 10 years of our lives for some guy at the gym?" "It wasn't just about him," she shouted, her voice cracking. "Yes, I slept with Ryan. Yes, I betrayed you. But it wasn't because I stopped loving you. It was because I felt like I'd lost you long before that." Her confession caught me off guard. "What are you talking about? You were never there, Matt," she cried, standing up to face me. Physically, maybe, but emotionally, you checked out years ago, always working late, ignoring me, treating our marriage like a chore instead of a partnership. I begged you to spend time with me, to listen to me, but you acted like my feelings didn't matter. That's not true. I shot back, though doubt crept into my mind. Had I really been that absent? It is true, she insisted, tears streaming down her face. And when Ryan came along, he made me feel seen again. He listened to me, cared about me, treated me like I mattered. I didn't plan to fall for him. I just wanted to feel alive again. And by the time I realized what I'd done, it was too late. Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. Was she right? Had I neglected her without even realizing it? Memories surfaced. Nights spent glued to my laptop. Weekends buried in work projects, brushing off her attempts to connect. Maybe I had taken her for granted. But even if that were true, it didn't excuse her betrayal. So what now? I asked bitterly. You expect me to forgive you because you were lonely? Because I wasn't perfect? No, she admitted softly. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know the whole story. To understand that I didn't cheat because I stopped loving you. I cheated because I thought you'd already stopped loving me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The rain pounded against the windows, filling the silence between us. Her confession forced me to confront uncomfortable truths, not just about her, but about myself. Finally, I sighed, running a hand through my hair. Claire, I don't know if I can ever trust you again. Too much has happened. I know, she whispered, nodding. And I don't blame you. But please, don't let this destroy you too. Don't let your anger consume you. Her plea lingered in the air as she turned to leave, pausing briefly at the door. Thank you for showing me what it feels like to lose someone you love, she said quietly. I hope someday you find peace. And with that, she was gone. As I stood there alone, watching the rain wash away her footprints, I realized something painful yet liberating. Revenge hadn't healed me. It had only prolonged the pain. Now, faced with the possibility of moving forward, I knew the choice was mine to make, to hold on to bitterness or to start rebuilding myself piece by piece.